If you've come to be disappointed in my meta lists, you've come to the right spot. But this week, I think I'm going to get it right, so let's get right into it. Alright, so last week I made a little bit of a mistake. I said that a good comp, the extra comp, which was the double bubble, was good, but I think I overestimated it a little bit. I think it's still a really solid comp, but there's definitely some changes to the meta that were pretty intense for Open Division that I actually kind of misforecasted. So without further ado, I do want to make this one a little bit quicker because I am recording very late, and I want to keep this one a little bit more casual as well. I definitely focused on studying, or did not focus on studying as much as I should have tonight, but it's okay because we're going to get it all done. So let's make sure this is quick, easy, right to the point, everything that you guys need. So we're going to start off with tanks. So where do I think the double bubble comp is? I think that Winston is definitely A tier. I think that while double bubble is good on a lot of maps, I think that Brawl definitely has been kind of pub stomping these dive comps a lot more than I had anticipated. I actually thought that Ryan was going to be really bad, but I think that what's going on here is that Brawl is definitely kind of winning out in these in maps like King's Row, more so than I thought it would. I still think Dive can be running against Brawl. I just don't think it's as strong as we had anticipated. That being said, I think that D.Va kind of goes in the A tier because she's used in Brawl sometimes, but not all the time, and she's actually very good at Fire Ice. But Dive definitely is still good. I just think that Ryan, the Ryan Zarya is definitely better. That being said, let's move on to the rest of the tanks. Ball is going to B tier. Actually, wait for Ball. You know, I think Ball's top of B tier. I think that the Ball dives are still really good. I just think that slower dives like the Monkey Zarya just do better into Brawl comps, which are kind of the new meta, in terms of they can sustain and the Nano can actually do a lot of value for you in the long run. But let's keep going on here. That being said, I still think that Fire and Ice is pretty decent. If you guys don't know what Fire and Ice is, it is the Reset, D.Va, Torb, May, Bap, Lucio. It still works pretty well in this meta. I think that normal Brawl is better, but I still think you can get away with it, and you can, on some maps, you can spam for long enough to make it so that when you do actually have to brawl with the comp, that you can actually pull out on top. I don't have any VODs of that, but if you look up Scion Esports, that's SCION, maybe you'll find old VODs of them playing in contenders. But if not, then I guess you're SOL for that, because they have not been in org for quite some time. But it's still a really good comp that people pull out as the IQ check every now and then. And then to finish off the tanks for this list, I think that Hog is good in ladder, but this is a team meta list, so keep that in mind. So I think Hog's good for like good picky value. Excuse me here. I think he's really good to get some picks every now and then, but overall, with Hog, it's kind of like he's broken or he's not, because his value is very odd in the sense where it's like, if it's a Call of Duty meta, then Hog will be good because he's just fundamentally very strong in his own. And last but not least, I'm probably going to put Sigma actually in D tier. If actually, you know, I might actually put Hog in D tier and Sigma C tier, because Sigma, you can maybe run a Sig Ball, but I just don't think it's going to be really strong. And Hog just isn't good for this meta. I think Brawl just kind of makes Hog's value diminished. Like, maybe you'll pull out Sig and ladder sometimes, but keep in mind this is a team playlist. But you really should just be running Brawl or Double Bubble right now, because those are really good comps. With that being said, though, we're going to have to look now into the DPS. Now, I know that a lot of people have been seeing these Reaper changes from last week, which was the experimental. It's not really a buff or a nerf, it's more like a change. He has more range, but he doesn't do as much damage, so we're actually going to get into him a little bit later. With that being said, I think I'm going to put Ashe actually in B tier. I don't see her being used a whole lot, even in Double Bubble or in the Ryan matchups, but I still think she's really strong against like really hard dive if you want to spam a little bit harder, because then you can use Dynamite to kind of make their engagement a lot slower, because they're going to have to wait to get health packs, healing, what have you. She's definitely very strong into dive. I still think that the Brawl hit scan DPS like McCree definitely going to be getting a lot more value within this meta than she will. Bastion, I'm sorry guys, Bastion is still D tier. He will not be good for quite some time. I do want to address this though on Reddit. lots of people are saying that I'm being elitist in these meta tier lists. Keep in mind this is team play, and I'm holding everyone to the same standard. Bastion should not get as much value as these characters, because in a team-based setting, any team, in my opinion, can deal with a Bastion. Maybe it's not conventional, like how a GM player would deal with a Bastion, but I still think that Bastion's just not going to get as much value as the Rein, Zarya, or Winston D.Va. And if you're watching this, chances are that you're trying to improve, so I'm going to give you what you need to improve and not keep you to a standard that I know that you are better than. So with that out of the way, I'm not being elitist. I'm trying to help you learn. And if it comes off as elitist, just understand that this is a team-based review. So obviously things that are a little bit more memey that might work in ranked, even in GM, like Bastion can work in GM. It's a little bit more memey and shouldn't work. So I'm going to hold everyone to the same standard there. Okay, moving on from that, Doomfist, I think is decent. I think I'll give him C tier. I don't think he's good enough yet though, unless you're like a Doom one-trick team. I mean, you can pull him out in some maps and he's pretty good, but other than that, I don't think he's super solid. I think that other characters just do better into the brawls. Anyways, Echo I'm gonna save a little bit later because I still think Echo's just a really broken character. But Genji, Genji I'm gonna put higher up on the C tier just because I think Nanoblaze is really good on Temple of Anubis if you want to run Cyber Dive. Other than that though, Genji is not really getting a whole lot of value in those double bubble comps, and he should strictly be kind of avoided. Let's move on then to Hanzo. I kind of want to wait for the spam heroes and kind of see, because I just don't think they're very good. That being said, Junkrat's definitely bottom C tier, borderline D tier actually, because he doesn't do well into Brawl in my opinion, and he doesn't really do well into Dive either. So, I mean, in team play, if you're Aquamarine, you'll get a lot of value out of him. If you're not Aquamarine, well, I'm going to give you the best of luck. Or if you're another junk player, but if you're not a hardcore junk player, you're not going to be seeing him in what's it called, in team play a lot. You'll see him on Control Center, but outside of that, you probably won't. Bakri, I'm going to give the S tier, and also Mei, actually, I'm going to be giving the S tier here. I think they're both very solid characters with the current Brawl meta that we have been seeing. I don't think they're broken. I think that this meta is actually very healthy, and it's very fun. So I hope that this stays around for a little bit. Eventually, people are probably going to get a little bit bored of the meta, and I mean, I get that, and Blizzard will change things up again. But I still think that Mei and Kree, very strong characters in this Brawl meta right now, especially if they're playing against a dive. Mei does do very well, and Kree, I mean, not so much, but the stun value in the team play setting, you can play around that pretty well. Let's see here. So Reaper, I'm gonna actually just I'm not sure if Reaper's really good. Same thing I'm actually gonna put with Tracer here because she kind of works with the Brawl as well. I think on certain maps like Ilios Well, Reaper actually does very well at controlling the cage on left or right side of point, doesn't really matter. The side away from the windmill. The problem that I have with that is it's not as consistent as running the Korean Mei on most maps, but you will be running brawls with Tracer and Reaper every now and then, and you'll also be running dives with Tracer every now and then. Same thing with Sombra, which I'm probably going to actually, moving on here, put her at the bottom of A tier. I still think that Sombra is really strong. I just don't think you're going to be pulling her out nearly as much as you're going to be pulling out some of these other DPS, and since a lot of my DPS that are going to be on this list are going to be in the lower C tier or D tier or even maybe low B tier, I'm going to put Sombra up in A tier when she's really not that good, but she's pretty decent. Moving on, let's see here. Pharah, I'm actually going to put Pharah in a little bit higher of a ranking than I usually do. I'm going to put her in B tier, probably mid-B tier. I think Pharah one-trick teams against Brawl really are an IQ check for weaker Brawl teams, because they'll try to put too much emphasis on the Pharah when really they just have to win the ground battle. But I just don't think it's so much so a good pick that it's going to be A tier or something that you're really going to be seeing a lot in the higher skill ceiling team play. I still think you can get away with it. And again, this is not ladder. In ladder, you can play any of these characters and you can hit 4.5k. Bastion main is a testament to that. You can hit high SR with a character that is Mimi if you are good at the character. So I mean, keep in mind this is team play. It's a lot harder to pop off as Bastion in team play, in my opinion. But moving on. I think Pharah's, well, to finish off Pharah, I think that's a pretty good explanation. It'll work against teams that aren't as strong of a Brawl team together, but when you get to tier 3, you're not going to be able to run that Pharah as consistently as you would in probably like 3.5k to 4.3k. That kind of team setting. So Soldier 76, I'm gonna put him actually above Ashe. I think he works really well in dive. I just don't think I'm actually gonna put him, I just don't think I'm gonna see him as much as Ashe, because some teams like to run Ashe. But Soldier, the thing is that he does really well into dive. Dive isn't meta, but if you wanna pull him out in some janky map, sure, go ahead. But I don't think in the grand scheme of things he's gonna be finding a whole lot of value. That being said, Torbjorn I'm gonna put in B tier strictly because of the Fire and Ice synergy. He's good there. If he's not being played there, I just don't think he's super great unless you're playing against a dive comp as Brawl and you're not having a good time on Kree. You can swap that to a Torb. Would you do that if you're in a team setting? I think you're going to stick to the Kree, because you're probably more comfortable as a hit scanner on Kree as you are in Torb, because the last time that Torb was in meta was a very long time ago. Moving on, however, we're always going to be putting Symmetra in at least top of C tier, because teleporting out of spawn on Koth maps is very, very strong, and you're going to be seeing that still for a pretty good amount of time. Widowmaker, I'm gonna also be putting, I'm actually gonna put her below Soldier and below Torb. In Brawl, she doesn't do very well because it's just too fast, way too fast paced, and in Dive, you're only gonna maybe see her on Watchpoint Gibraltar, but even then, I think you're just gonna get more value out of the Tracer or the Sombra. So I just don't see you running that very often with the Widow, which is kind of nice. It's been a while since I haven't seen Widow in a meta. That brings us down to the last two. I'm going to put Hanzo actually in right above Junkrat. I just don't think he's very good into Brawl. I don't really think he's very good in the Dive. You're not really going to be seeing him a whole lot unless you're running Double Sniper on Junkertown, but I don't even know if Junkertown's even in rotation right now. Is it in rotation? I think it is actually, but even then you're not going to be seeing him a whole lot. So much so that you're probably going to be putting him in C tier. And then last but not least, I'm going to put Echo actually above Ashe, because a lot of people still like to run the Echo Ashe. But the thing is that Echo is kind of like the oh shit pick. Yeah, you get a Mercy pocket if the Echo player is good. Maybe they carry the game, maybe they don't. So much, it's so broken to the point where if you have a good Echo, you can run that. So it's kind of like the new pharmacy. But then that moves us on to the sports, and I'm very happy that this video is actually going a little bit shorter because I am talking a lot faster. But that's kind of what I want to do, because there's not a whole lot different that's going on here. But yeah, let's get right into this. So Baptiste and Lucio are actually the S tier, because Baptiste does a lot of healing and a lot of damage. I think it kind of needs to get a little bit tuned back, because he is getting a lot of value within the Brawl comp, but I don't really have a whole lot to complain about it because it is still really fun and it's fresh. I don't really think I need to explain the Lucio pick, because Lucio in Brawl is very strong, and the stun with Kree kind of makes up for it in the terms that people just aren't running Brig with it, because Lucio is just the faster Brawl is just beating more teams, and we haven't really seen a whole lot of variation yet because Open Division did just happen. But I still am I'm pretty firmly saying that Lucio is probably better than Brig into a Brawl comp. Probably depends on the map, but we'll get there when we get there, and later meta videos when the meta becomes even more stable than it already has been. That being said, Ana and Brig definitely going to be an A tier, because Double Bubble does require your Ana to find those nades. That is really important, because you're not really going to be able to heal enough on Zen, so you're going to have to find value in nades, which is why I'm making the set nades video. So if you have not watched my 2 set nades videos that I've completed, you probably should go watch that and learn it if your team wants to play Double Bubble. That being said, the hybrid set nades video is coming, not the hybrid, the escort set nades video will be coming out this Thursday, and then King of the Hill the Thursday after that. So then finishing off the rest of the meta list, I'm going to put Mercy and Zen actually in B tier. I'm not going to put any supports in C tier this time, only because Moira takes the cake. In D tier, not very good. 6-man dive you see every now and then. Just don't, I don't know, just not super strong. And that's a good thing, because I think that the Moira metas have definitely lasted a very long time, as well as the Bat metas. But Bat metas for me, at least now, because I've learned a lot about Moira's kit. I like the Bat metas because I force then to learn more about a kit that I am not super comfortable with. And if you've been watching my streams, I'm pretty sure there's visible improvement from last week even to this week, just because of the experimentation that I was forced to make to learn this character. But yeah, guys, if you did like the video, this was 15 minutes long, which is great. That's a very concise meta review. If you did like this, please do let me know in the comments below. If there's anything you'd want me to change, want me to go slower still, even if it's just an update, or if you want me to even speed it up a little bit more, I'd be happy to do so. But yeah, if you did like it, please do leave a like, do subscribe. But until next time, guys, I've got a peace out and Paz out. I'll see you in the next one.